What's the difference between total testosterone and free testosterone? Watch this.
Our next caller is David from New Jersey.
David, what's happening, man? How can we help you?
Gentlemen, good to be with you.
You too.
So, about your guys' age, I'm a 43-year-old male, about 6'1", 176 pounds. I've been training since I was 15 years old, basically got into weightlifting, start of my sophomore year of high school. I started with typical bodybuilding type split training, which I did throughout my youth and in my 20s. Then in my 30s, I got more into endurance sports, and I was competing in marathons and triathlons, and then eventually just bicycle racing. Then COVID hit, and there were no more races on the calendar, so that kind of got me back into strength training. I do have a set of power block dumbbells, adjustable 5 to 90 pounds, and that was just enough equipment with a bench to kind of keep me going through COVID. So with that, I just got really back into strength training. I feel like with my experience, I've always known enough to design my own programs. But then that was around the same time I was starting to listening to you guys' podcasts. And so I'd never followed a program that was designed by somebody else. But after a few months of listening to you guys, I said, you know what, let me give it a try. So kind of fast forward to this past spring around April, I started MAPS Anabolic. And at the same time, for the first time ever, I started tracking my macros, which again was a consequence of listening to you guys. So it was sort of interesting. I used the calculator that you guys have on the website just to kind of ballpark. I had no idea where I might be. And that told me, around 2,900 calories. So I started at about 190 pounds. And then over the first few phases of anabolic with 2,900 calories, I dropped down to 178 pounds, which I was fine with. I really was like, let me just see where this takes me. Let me learn. And obviously I cut some body fat before the summer, so I was cool with that. Then, I didn't want to continue to drop weight. So I started to take your guys' advice, I think, and start to bump up my calories very gradually, first up to 3,100, then 32, then 33. I'm currently at 34, and my weight has sort of plateaued. Like I'm right around 176, give or take a half a pound on either side. So I feel good about that. And I'm really just wondering, at my age, looking out over the next decade or so. So my first question is about nutrition. How malleable, you guys talk about, reverse diet, and I guess I'm sort of doing that now. Like, how malleable is it? And what is the ceiling? Like, how high a guy my size, my activity level? And I should say I finished anabolic. I'm doing performance now, and I do walk typically about 10,000 steps a day. So my first question is, I like to eat a lot. So how high can I go, and anything else I can do to get it there?
Yeah.
You're kicking ass, dude.
Yeah, you're doing great.
You really are.
Your limit is 4,273 and a half calories. Actually,
let me write that down. Hold on.
Yeah. No idea. But no idea. There's such a huge variance between people. But I've seen pretty wild. I've seen some big swings, man.
Oh, I swing massively.
Yeah, I've seen them, and I've seen it myself. I've seen them in clients. I remember I had a young lady who was eating 1,000 calories. We got her up to eating like 2,600 calories and reduced her activity even, and she got leaner. I can get my calories up to, gosh, if I want to really bulk, I got to get like 5,000 or 6,000 calories at some point. So it depends on the person. So I don't know, but I'd say 3,400 calories, 176 pounds. You look pretty damn lean on screen. I would assume you're probably no more than 12, 13% body fat at the highest. Am I right in the range? What body fat percentage?
I use calipers, and I use the Jackson Pollock formula, and I kind of plug in the 3 location 4 and 7. I know it's not perfect because I'm doing some measurements to myself, and like occasionally I have my wife do my back and so on. So that always puts me around 5 or 6%. I mean, I'm pretty lean.
You're shredded, bro. Yeah, you got a lot of room, dude.
Yeah,
I'd say I would bump your calories 500 easy.
Yeah, easily bump 500. Here's the thing that I think you'll eventually run into this because you are really lean. You're a big guy too, and you're active, so you got plenty of room to go. I bet you can get all the way 4,500 plus calories.
Yep.
So and this happens. Sal and I talk about this a lot off air because this is like our thing. Like we're always trying to get bigger and pushing the calories, and then what ends up happening is you start to see some side effects. One of my side effects is I start snoring. I start feeling a lot of inflammation because I'm building muscle. And comes to a point where your frame, you just weren't made to carry any more muscle, and you're starting to wrestle with that. And on top of that, you find yourself kind of stuffing yourself food-wise, and you're just
like forcing it.
Yeah, and so I think the sweet spot that I'm always looking for is I've ramped my metabolism up to a place that anytime I feel like eating, I can definitely eat, as long as I make a good choice and balanced, nutritious meal. I never have to tell myself I can't eat, or I should hold back or restrict calories. That's such a good place, I feel like, to be. And so only you can decide what that is for you. But I definitely think you're at a place where you could definitely ramp calories, especially how lean you are.
Yeah, I mean, your comment about wanting to be able to eat, because in your notes you wrote, I want to be able to eat. I enjoy food. I mean, you got a lot of room, dude. You got a lot of room. I would bump 500 calories, and I bet you'll gain more muscle and maybe a little bit of body fat at that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's sort of, I appreciate that. And as I put in the notes, I plan to do aesthetic next, and I plan to do a bulk. I'm sort of at a point, guys, where 190 is kind of like, with my genetics and my frame, I can be lean and strong, and that's about as big as I can get in a lean way. And honestly, beyond that, I would need like a whole new wardrobe, which I'm not really looking to do anyway. So yeah. I'm looking to bulk up to that upper 180s, but stay lean. And so I plan to do a bulk, when I hit aesthetic. So I'll do that. I'll bump up, maybe instead of going in 100 calorie increments. Once I get there, I'll bump 300 or 400 and hit phase one of aesthetic and see where that takes me.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to my other question, which was about, I'm currently in performance. And you had a caller I listened to an episode recently that made a similar type of question, but I'm kind of struggling with, on the one hand, I enjoy it. I'm the kind of guy that enjoys kicking my own ass kind of thing. And that endorphin and dopamine rush of the workout. I need my daily workout. I love the mobility days, that gets me in the gym. It's not strenuous, but I get, that satisfaction of going to the gym. And I just think those are fun workouts to do. So I think you guys did a great job designing those mobility sessions. They're kind of like workouts. There's definitely mobility components, but they are slightly stressful, which I kind of like. Anyway, phase one, I liked. Phase 2 through 4, I'm in phase 2 right now. I'm struggling with, it feels a little bit like just that, getting a sweat, burning calories. I don't know where I'm going, so it's a good workout, but I don't know where I'm going. And I'm kind of starting to question, should I shorten those phases from 3 weeks down to 2 weeks? Still do the phases, but just do 2 weeks. And that way I get to aesthetic sooner. I don't know what you guys think about that, or if you would talk me out of that. But that's sort of where my headspace is at right now.
If you follow performance all the way through, you're going to have way better success with aesthetic afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phase 2 is about multiplanar movements and perfecting your form and technique.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about perfect form, perfect technique, control, stability in different planes of motion. That's the key with phase 2. It's not bodybuilding. It's not about getting a pump. It's not about lifting the most amount of weight. It's about perfect technique, perfect form. You want to be solid as hell in every direction that you move, and that's what phase 2 is all about.
Yeah, so. I think I'm not sure if this is the caller you're referring to, but I know we did just have a caller like this where I think it was a female that I was explaining this to, that you got to really shift your mindset in phase 2 of performance to just that idea of the way we program that. It's supposed to be all about quality of movement. And so it tends to be a hard transition for a lot of people that just come out of phase 1 because you're pushing the weight, you're getting stronger. Then all of a sudden you move to this phase where you're doing things like the reverse lunge and the multiplanar stuff that we have in there. So when you do those things, worry less about the weight and the sweat and the short rest periods and that type of stuff, and actually, try and improve the form. And that's why you have mobility sessions. You're trying to get a deeper range of motion in that lunge. You want better stability when you come up from the reverse lunge. You want your left to your right side to look equal and perfect. And so become obsessed with that over the weight, the sweat, the burn, and that kind of stuff. So think about the quality of the movement through that phase, and that's really what you're trying to be competitive with in that phase.
Yeah, and to the point of so 2 weeks versus 3 weeks, and I know there's also a little bit of we've gotten some feedback in terms of the volume's a little high, on some of these multiplanar movements, and I think it's because it's a foreign type of animal for a lot of people who just stay in the sagittal plane the whole time, and so it's mentally challenging more so than it's physically challenging. And to be able to get in that headspace, you got to think of it as you're patterning these movements so you get familiar with them. And so it was intentional that we raise the volume a little bit so you get more adequate practice, so your body responds so much better when there's any kind of shift or it takes you out of the sagittal plane when you go back to lifting heavy and getting after it again.
All right, I appreciate that. You guys have sort of made a believer out of me. I have to say, with anabolic going down to even the 3 days, like following the advanced calendar, I was a little skeptical because typically I lifted not much more, but 4 or 5 days. But even that reduction, and I got amazing results from anabolic. So if you guys tell me stick it out and do the 3 weeks, I'm going to give it a shot, and I'll do that. If I could just ask one additional question, if you guys don't mind, and Sal, I know you had some experience with this. So I also had my testosterone tested a few weeks back. And so I don't know what to call it. I guess the regular testosterone range was within normal. The free testosterone was below the standard range. And so my GP referred me to an endocrinologist. And so I have an appointment coming up. I wonder if you have any advice for me, like, I don't know if I don't understand the difference between those two measures, like free testosterone versus the regular. And like, what, if you have any guidance for me as far as like what questions to ask the doctor or what I might expect with that process.
Get in our form.
Yeah. So we have a forum called MP Hormones. Actually, wait, hold on. Is it Mind Pump Hormones?
Mind Pump Hormones.
Mind Pump Hormones on Facebook. So I'm not a doctor, but I do know that free testosterone is not bound by what's called sex-binding globulin hormone. So when testosterone is bound by this, it's really unusable. Okay, so it's just you have testosterone, but your body can't use it. Once it's free, now you can use it. So you could have high total testosterone, but low free testosterone, and you could suffer the effects of low testosterone, even though total testosterone is within range. So what causes high sex-binding globulin hormone? That's a question you would have to ask your doctor.
Or ask our doctors. We have 2 doctors that are actually in that forum daily answering questions.
You'll get an answer quick
and it's
there.
free to you.
Yeah, you'll get an answer real fast if you go there in the forum and ask those guys. And then if you want to work with a specialist, you go to mphormones.com and get yourself an assessment, have them take a look at everything and kind of see what's going on.
And of course we're biased because these are the guys that we sought after and think are the best in the industry. But I actually went through a different clinic before, and I was very unhappy with the service that I got. Just they weren't able to answer the questions I wanted. They had me on extremely low dose. And Sal is the one that actually found Dr. Rand and his team and introduced me to, and they're way better. So before you maybe go down the rabbit hole because that's the GP sends you to somebody, they're going to try all these things. They're going to be real skeptical to do anything with you. They're going to they're not looking to optimize. They're looking like just to get you out of the unhealthy range. And what you'll get with Dr. Rand is they'll allow you to go to a place where you want to optimize, which they almost did double the dose that I was getting from my other practitioner. And I feel way better with them than I did the other doctor. So, but the forum's free. So you can get in there, ask whatever questions that you have. And then if you want to take the next step and book an appointment with them, and everything can be done virtually. They'll have you go get your blood work. You'll send it in, and then you'll actually have a consultation virtually with one of the doctors, and they'll go over your blood panels with you and then give you your recommendations, and it gets shipped right to your door.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
I appreciate your time, guys, and I appreciate all you do. Especially, you guys have made a big impact on my life with mobility, following Prime, and with the nutritional advice you've given me. So it's been really cool to follow you guys, and I appreciate all your advice.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care, guys.
You got it. Man, he's such a fan. He started cutting his hair like you. That's really
Homeboy shredded, dude.
Yeah.
5-6%.
Yeah, when you said like 12, 13,
3,400
that dude ain't no 12, 13%. I could tell he was single digits, but I didn't know he was that lean. That's lean.
Well, he was talking about like worried about gaining body. So I'm like, at the highest, he's got to be maybe 12.
Yeah, no.
Type of deal.
He could easily push that to 4,000 calories, dude, if he wants.
No,
so.
the thing you said about the hormones, that's a big one because testosterone is a scheduled drug, right? Because it can enhance athletic performance, they put it in a different category. And because of this, the traditional, I guess, methods, or the traditional, doctors, I would say, they're very afraid to touch it or to supplement
There's a lot
it.
of reserve there.
Yeah, and even though it's an extremely safe hormone to manipulate, much safer than insulin, much safer than other hormones, thyroid, for example, that we routinely prescribe to people who have low thyroid. But they're afraid. They're afraid to do that. And you're right. They'll look in a range, and then your symptoms, they don't really ask you questions about that. And people can be within range and have symptoms because their range should be higher. And other people, they take supplemental testosterone, they take testosterone, they'll be at a high range, and it's too much for them, and they got to reduce it.
Dr. Rand explained it so well to me. Like he said, let's imagine all through your teens and 20s, you're used to having 1,200 free testosterone. And then over the course of your life, it's dropped down to 600. And then it finally got all the way after you ran what you went through, where I ran cycles and stuff like that. It drops me down to 200 and something. And then I go see this general practitioner and they go, oh, okay, we want to get you the normal range. And they bring me back up to 500 or 600. And he's like, yeah, and you still don't feel great. Like you're better, you're out of the danger zone of where you were before, but you don't feel like you used to feel. And it's because your body is used to having double of that. And that's a significant difference. And
that's not true, by the way, that's not true for everybody. I know people watching like, well, yeah, of course, everybody feels, that's not true.
No.
There's people who they'll go and get prescribed testosterone, and then they'll say, I'm noticing these sides. And the doctor's like, well, we got to lower your dose.
Yeah.
There is a right amount for quality of life. It's not always higher.
There's a definite sweet spot. I know, and obviously, because I've competed, I pushed the limits and went up. And there is a amount that when I go over that amount, I start getting all the adverse effects. And I do not see the results or feel the way I want to feel at all. So there is definitely a sweet spot. But a lot of these general practitioners, they're all going to weigh on this side of, oh, you don't need it, or oh, you don't want to do it. It's like, I'd rather see a hormone specialist, and Dr. Rand and them are incredible.